to another episode of Two Docs and a Grunt. As usual, I am Doc Luis Fonseca. I was a U.S. Navy hospital corpsman on active duty for 22 years. During my tenure, I was involved in the Battle of Al Nasiriyah, and for my actions on that day, I was subsequently awarded the Navy Cross. Next up is my partner, Doc Barry.
Folks, my name is Andrew Barry, also known as Doc Barry. I am a psychologist and psychoanalyst, and I specialize in working with veterans and first responders of all denominations fighting with the post traumatic stress disorder and related mental health issues. Go ahead, Nate.
And I'm your token grunt, Nate Emery. Served 33 years with DoD, 22 years in the Marine Corps. Combat tours were Desert Storm in Mogadishu, Somalia. And tonight our guest is Mitchell Katz. And Mitch joined the Navy in 1978, was a CB, and then was a vehicle mechanic after that, and got out of the Navy in 1985. And then he's been a few places, done a few things. Most of the time, I have a lot more information to give the guests, about an intro, but you'll understand why. I met Mitch in May of last year for the first time when I went to go get help at a veteran support group, and that's where I met Mitch. And for a long time, Mitch kept to himself, and I think I've been after him for about a year on and off to come on as a guest and to tell his story. And understandably, he wasn't ready yet. And but Mitch is an ASE certified mechanic or master mechanic. I don't know.
Master mechanic.
Master mechanic, yeah. Here in Virginia, and so it's great to have you on finally, Mitch.
Yeah, it's it's been a long time coming, and it's good.
Good. Let's start from the beginning, and where are you from? Where did you grow up? Did you have family in military service? What made you decide to join the military, and why the Navy? And from there, it'll probably unroll, and we'll go all over the place.
My father actually was an Army vet. He got out early because of a hardship discharge based upon family issues. I joined the Navy in 78, got out in 85. I probably did this because of the fact that had I not done it, more than likely I would have been going down the road of hard knocks, would have been jail bound, no doubt. At that point in time, I was probably that type of person who, if I could turn that screw up just a little more to make you mad, man, I was turning it up. A little bit of a hellraiser, little bits of mild word. I guess anytime something happened in the township of New Jersey, where I'm from, cops were knocking at my door. So sometimes it happened, sometimes it didn't happen, sometimes the truth was admitted, and sometimes I walked away saying, no, I didn't do it. So I joined the Navy in 78. Haze, gray, and underway, see the world. Saw quite a bit. Some cases a little more than what I needed to see, but countries that even people with money probably would have never gotten to see the areas that I was in. I've had 2 tours in Yugoslavia. I've been in Rota, Spain. I've been in Palma and Mallorca, Barcelona, all over the coast of Italy. This boat got underway, I want to think once every 3 months, I think, if I'm not mistaken. So it was a sub tender, serviced a lot of the subs that were out there in that area. A lot of offloading of weapons. So a lot of protocol was at hand at that point in time. I remember getting off the plane and walking through the airport. I guess it was Rome. And when the doors opened up, it was like, okay, we're not in the United States anymore, because the cabinary were the people who govern the airport. And looking at those machine guns, not something I'd want to taste. It was quite eye-opening. I'm 17, and I'm like, okay, there's 25 of us getting off this plane, and I'm like, okay, half went in one direction and half went in the other. So we were on a bus and went out to an island called Sardinia. It's a island where there's a total of 3 buildings. One of the 3 buildings I don't participate in because I'm not one of those drunken sailors. So you can imagine what went on in that beer hall every night. The other 2 was the commissary, and the other one was another building to the right, which was, I can't quite remember, but it had something to do with the Italian host nationals. But there was a gate between them, so there was really not much to do out there. If you wanted any kind of liberty, well, you had to take an oil barge or a tugboat to go to the other side of the island, whether it be the Palau side or the Sardinia side. So wasn't really a whole lot to do. It was isolated. The bowling alleys had 6 lanes. That gets a little old after a while. The commissary was probably no bigger than my kitchen. My kitchen's really not that big. So really not a whole lot.
Now, you said something that I had a question. I don't know, so maybe other people are gonna have the same question. But so you get off the plane in Italy, and so there were people there who were armed. What was going on in Italy at that time that they needed to be armed? Was this during the time like terrorism was kind of rampant in Europe?
Yeah, terrorism was quite rampant at that time, and indoctrination was on the boat where they said, don't get into trouble in the black market because there's nothing we can do. As far as terrorism, yeah, there was quite a bit. It was a 24-hour roving watch, not only outside the surrounding area of the boat, but there was a 24-hour roving watch both on the starboard and port side, up top side. And internally, on the, I still call it a deck today, the second deck, because the top deck had the roving watch for the top half of the boat. The middle deck had the middle watch, and then there was a lower watch on the lower deck. So if you can imagine 3 decks on this boat, I mean, the boat was huge, and getting on this boat was like, I can't believe it. I mean, I'm 17 and I'm in a foreign country, and I'm thinking, oh my God, the cabinary run the airport. They're armed. I really didn't know a whole lot. And I'm like, you want to talk about being scared? Oh yeah. Scared ain't the word for it. I don't have weapon. If something happens, we're in trouble. So, it was still part of the Cold War time for anybody that knows history. So I just missed Nam, thank God. But what I did see, I wouldn't want to wish on my worst enemy. Not that I have any, because I don't think I do.
So yeah, you
what kind? Right, go ahead.
oh yeah, I was gonna say, so yeah, you cleared up a question that I had, Mitch, because you said you were 17 when you went to Sardinia.
17 I was, yes sir.
Yeah, so this was 78, 79.
Correct,
Yeah,
78.
yeah. So Now you said there was some fear, you were scared, right? During the Cold War era. So I was a child at that time. But I remember my dad got stationed in Germany in 88. 88, yeah. So right before, a year before the wall came down. I remember
Came down.
seeing
Hmm.
the wall come down in 89. And I remember what was so fearful at that time? Was it was really the threat of a nuclear war that prominent in our history during that time? Was that what made it so scary?
I am not, you know, um, I never gave it thought as far as that was concerned, but there was some concern and there was some chatter about it. Not a lot, but there was some. Um, I can tell you that I stand no bigger now than when I was 17. I don't stand too much heavier now than when I was 17. I'm probably the smallest person you probably will ever encounter in your entire life at 5 feet 4 inches tall at about 140 pounds. I graduated high school at 120. I'm out of high school almost 50 years.
Well,
And I
I
can,
can add something to what was going on in Europe at the time. As when people hear terrorism now, they think 9/11 and since then.
Right.
But in the mid and late 70s, the terrorism that was going on was the true sense of terrorism was violence to try to change people's political beliefs and their political actions. It wasn't about instituting a religious, belief. And there were American military members were being kidnapped in Europe.
Hmm.
Um, uh, I remember this back when everybody thought of Syria as just being a terrorist country. There were bombings of discotheques in Europe just to kill
Hmm.
Americans. And like I remember the original Marine Corps Institute, like distance education course on terror. It was called counterterrorism, and everything. I did that one like in 1992, and everything in there was all about terrorism in Europe that was going on.
when you have a when you have a roving watch on 3 different sections of the ship, you that tells you something's going on, something's happening.
Right.
On top of that, there's a roving watch outside the boat too. Now, originally the boat, I can't remember whether it was docked or it was just sitting there in the water. I'm not too sure on that one. I don't quite remember, but regardless, if you have a roving watch in the water, that tells you something. Something's going on, something's happening. Things were kept hush hush. There really wasn't a whole lot and to be said. And what I can tell you is that most of my superiors were Vietnam veterans at that time. So um, the word of mouth really wasn't really open as far as that was concerned as to what was going on and how
Right.
we were going to do things and how we were going to handle stuff. Um, I mean, things were I'm getting on this boat and I'm looking at this boat and this thing's massive.
Hmm.
I mean, it's a massive looking boat, and I'm like, okay. And then the first place they bring you is where the boat took a torpedo hit in World War II.
Yeah.
Now I'm thinking it's really not a place to be going or telling anybody about either. But that's the first place they take you.
Yeah.
I'm like, really? Okay, let's move on. Let's move on because this is not an area I want to be. Um, so things were kind of weird. Um, and to attest to what Nate is saying, I can tell you the first time I left for Liberty was the last time I left the boat. The one and only time. I think Italy was one of the few countries that was trying to be taken over by the communists at that time. My first outing in
Yeah,
town.
they'd had a recent history of,
Yeah.
being Mussolini and fascism. They were trying to get out
Yeah.
of.
Mm.
Yeah, absolutely. And I remember the first time out in town with 3 of my shipmates. We're in the middle of a gun shooting. Yeah.
What, if you don't mind, what ship were you on?
USS Howard
You
W.
said it was
Gilmore.
Howard
AS-16.
W. Gilmore,
Mm-hmm.
and that was, you said it was a subtender, right? I don't know
Subtender.
what subtender. Yeah, I don't know what they look like, and I don't know, in the 70s how, if,
This
because I
is
know like
a massive
subtenders
looking.
have changed over the years.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
have. This is a massive looking boat. I mean, just to see it from a distance, it's like, I can't believe I'm getting on top of this. I can't believe I'm climbing across the quarterdeck on this boat to be stationed on here. It's a massive, massive looking boat. It's not as big as a carrier. It's a step down from the carrier in size, I would think, but it's bigger than a battleship
Yeah.
or
a frigate. It's huge.
Yeah, that is big. I was just looking it up. That is,
It's a
I
massive
wouldn't have
looking
that.
boat.
Yeah,
Mhm.
to me that looks like like a civilian logistics ship. Something that.
Yeah.
Also, I don't know a lot about Navy ships, so but I mean, it looks a lot bigger than I expected.
It's huge.
Yeah.
And was the first and only time that I left the boat. I never went back on shore again. I didn't even go to the bowling alleys or the commissary. I would send somebody over there with the money to go get whatever I needed. Here's the money. Go get what I need. If you need any more money, come back and see me. I'll give you some more. Yeah, I never thought the first time out in town I would be in the middle of watching a gun shooting on
Yeah.
people. I'm like,
Right.
you got to be kidding me here. Matter of fact, there was a few times they had some outings out on the. I'm not going on the beach. Not going to happen. Oh, the watch. You want to go on the beach? I'll take your watch, no problem. Cost you $50. Cash in hand right now, no problem.
I forgot all about buying Firewatch.
Oh yeah,
What are
I
you
made
guys
a
talking
boatload
about?
of money.
We don't do that. We don't do that.
Made a boatload of money.
Man, hey, how did and I really don't understand, don't know. So you were a CB, but were you a CB when they put you on the tender, or did that come afterward?
Crossed over to the fireman rating.
Oh wow.
And became a boiler tech.
Man,
don't ask. I have no clue.
I know. I understand when people ask me what I did, and I'm like, well, I had not between 9 and 11 MOSs, depending on how you want to categorize it. People are like, what? So I understand that most people say, you can change your job one time and then that's it. And then you run into somebody who's like, that wasn't my experience.
I had fire room watch. I had engine room watch, forward and aft. You want to go? No problem. $50 in hand. I'll take your watch in the engine room too. Because a lot of what went on between forward and after engine room was the same thing. The boiler room was a little bit different, and I ended up becoming a BT, which was a boiler tech. A lot of confusion as a kid, wanting to know what to do or what to be when you grow up. I'm still wondering what that is. And just, I figure, something, if I can't get what I want, I'll go after whatever it is that they have available. And at that time, they had boiler tech as availability. So I crossed over to the boiler tech rating, and I'm not sorry I did, but there's been some issues and some instances, and I've had to allow for some grace in my life because I have blamed myself for um, one of my friends being killed in the military from electrocution.
Yeah.
In a fire.
Initially, did you initially blame yourself, or were you made to feel like it was your fault?
Well, I guess it all depends on how you want to look at it. Okay. And the reason being because of the fact that I was the leading guy in the hole. And usually, when you are the lead superior in the hole, as they say, shit rolls downhill. And I was at the bottom. So I got the blame. They wanted to bring up charges. And when I yelled civilian lawyer, everything went away. But I didn't know that for quite some time. So for a long time, I blamed myself for that. For a long time, there were, and there's still issues. There's still a lack of closure on it. I don't know if I'll ever get full closure on it. There are days that I sit and think about it for hours on end, staring out the window, thinking about what could I have done differently? How could I have handled it? And I can tell you, electrocution is a smell you will never, ever, ever get out of your mind or forget. I was stopped by 4 people trying to go help. That's how bad it was for me. And that's how bad it's been since then. It's 41 years I am gone. And for 41 years, I have kept this down. My wife, out of a 25-year marriage, didn't even know. Didn't even know.
That's a hard thing for people to understand. When I'm like, one on one, like let's say at a VOB meeting or something, everyone's like, "Yeah, man, we're all here. You can trust us. Go ahead and tell us." And they don't understand. People don't understand some things. You've pushed down so far. Like you said, not even your own wife knows. So
Right.
you
I
say
have kept
something.
I
Had
have
you said
kept
it in
this
a
down.
group, they could accidentally let it out, assuming your wife knows. And now you're dealing with something you weren't quite ready to deal with, right?
I have kept this down for so long, for so many years. I can tell you, out of my first marriage, I kind of feel sorry for my first wife because she caught the majority of the backlash with all of this. And I'm sure if she was standing here next to me, she would attest to it because there's been many a times where I'm lucky I'm not in jail for what I've done and for how I've handled things.
How long after Italy, or when did you get married that first time along in your career? I mean, were you
I got
already?
married. I got married while I was in the military. I'll tell you what happened with that in a minute. Go ahead, Doc. I
Sure.
see you raising your finger up there.
Yeah, I try to stay out of most discussions and just ask an occasional question or two or make a point. Well, um, reaching out and asking for help is the hardest thing veterans and first responders have ever done in their lives.
Yeah, yeah.
And even though you're not asking for help in that context, the fact that you would open up on screen and tell at least 2 strangers
Yeah.
in and of itself is an act of bravery. And to anybody who's listening tonight or down the road, be advised what Mitch just did was he gave us, it's tantamount to him giving us a piece of his soul. And we are honored, speaking for only myself. I think Louise will back me up. We are honored
100%.
that you opened your mouth and said something.
It
The
took a
only
long
other
time.
thing, the only other thing I wanted to ask, and again, we don't push people in directions they don't want to go, only if you are up to it.
It's okay.
Because of the times being what they were you ever on the receiving end of anti-Semitism? And because of being 5'4", were you ever on the receiving end of abuse, also known as bullying, if
Yep.
you don't mind me asking?
Yep. Wasn't hard to figure out, was it? Yeah. Yeah.
I've seen that expression many times.
Yep. I'm sure you have. Yeah. In boot camp. In boot camp. In boot camp. And you want to know something? I'll tell you something. It's not a matter of payback. Because I can tell you karma's a bitch. And when she bites, you don't sit down for a long time. Take it from somebody who knows.
Yeah.
I was part of an issue because of my height on what they call blanket party, where they pin you down on a blanket in four corners and you get beat with a bar of soap wrapped up in a towel. I can tell you today, okay, every one of them that were participated, and sooner or later you find out, because it comes full tilt, they're lucky they're alive. I carried the unit flag, and I still remember the number 245 today. They're lucky that pole's not in their neck.
Yeah.
And I had quite a few pinned against the wall telling them, make a move, and you won't see tomorrow. But I got them the same way they got me, in the middle of the night. Because the chief petty officer in the first class, they go home. That's just the beginning. Trust me when I tell you, that's just the beginning of how all of this went down.
Yeah. Mitch, talking about just the beginning, I do have a question. How do you feel that shaped the way you went into the fleet mentally? Like I couldn't imagine um, having to go through that in boot camp, right? The foundation of your military career, and then having to think, well, shit, if this happens at boot camp, what's going to happen when I go out to the ship or the fleet, as
Exactly.
we call it, right?
Exactly. Yeah. I'll tell you how it shaped it. I'm not taking no shit from nobody. I don't care who you are. And I don't care what you're about. And I don't care what your rank is either.
Mm-hmm.
I'll give you respect if you're giving me respect. But to get that respect, you're going to earn it. Because if you don't earn it, you're not going to get it.
Right.
And I can tell you, on board ship, it was rough. It was rough. And like I said, I don't stand any bigger now than I did back then. There have been instances on board ship, physically punched, kicked. I'm sure for those who know what firesides and watersides are, that's the cleaning of the interior of the boiler. The hole is no bigger than a tractor trailer tire. So you know who the first one is going through. Yours truly. Every time.
Yeah, the little
I
guy.
stood.
Huh?
I stood every 12 to 4 watch for 18 and a half months. And then people wonder why I don't sleep at night. That's just the beginning. The terror goes on because in the middle of muster on the starboard side of the ship, where engineering gathered, for those of us who know what a Irish pennant is, I had one hanging from my uniform, and I had a first class who decided he was going to have a disagreement with me about it. But my boots, you could comb your hair. That's how shiny they were. Going down to the fire room, I was pushed down a 6-foot ladder through the hole, no bigger than a tractor trailer tire. The end result today, I can tell you, complex post-traumatic stress disorder. I've had neuro exam. There's a TBI. There's no doubt in the neuro mind of the doctor up at Stafford Hospital here in Virginia that I whacked my head going down. No question about it. I had knee surgery, a botched knee surgery. The physical limitations of me now are starting to catch up after 41 years. And mind you, I still work 40 plus hours a week. And in some cases, 60 hours, depending on who it was I was with.
Might I afford a guess that one of your personal heroes, perhaps, is Alfred Dreyfus?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, maybe. I'd have to think about that one. Yeah.
I figured the more I read about him, the more I swear I'm reading about Superman.
Yep.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Nate.
I was gonna say, when Luis asked that question, it didn't even occur to me, as you're telling us a story about it, I didn't think about that. When you grow up shorter than everybody else, you tend to end up being tougher because everybody's after you. So you gotta posture up all the time. And then I'm sure quite often you gotta put up. And then you go to boot camp thinking you'd become part of the Navy, all the great things that are supposed to come from that. And then right away, your experience in the beginning is crap. And then you get to the fleet and a place where I had to look it up. That there was an assassination, around the same time that you got there in Sardinia.
Yep.
I didn't realize there was stuff going on that was just local to that island, and so that's kind of freaky. And I'm sure, I know even now, like we don't want people to get in trouble or caught out in town or doing something. You amp up the rhetoric, to make sure they stay in the straight and narrow. So then you stay on the ship, and then you're getting dicked around on the ship, you get injured, and just like I've seen that happen with a couple of Marines. It's like once something starts, all anybody ever sees is a label, and usually it's a label they've created.
Yep.
And then you're fighting that your whole time.
Yep. That's exactly what's happened. That's exactly what's gone on. And the chain of command, they don't care. They don't care. They could care less. I can tell you when I went down that ladder, okay, no TBI check, no x-ray, no nothing. I'll tell you what happened. 2 Tylenol and go sit in a rack for 2 days. Now my rack was the top bunk at a 5 high, right underneath the 1MC. So how much rest do you really think I got?
Yeah.
Let alone
canvas racks back there, yeah, right?
Well, I was taken out in a stretcher, but was made to walk from the 3rd floor of medical was down to my rack and then climb 5 high into the rack with no help. Underneath a 1MC, where I'm not able to get any rest. And they went against medical board and dragged me out of the rack to go back to muster that morning. Not once.
For people who don't know, can you explain what 1MC is?
1MC is where all your ship announcements come from. Whether it be sweepers, GQ.
Sweepers, man your brooms.
Yep, pretty much. That's
Like
exactly how it went.
With the speakers yelling at you, right?
Yep, pretty much.
Oh man.
I mean, all the ship announcements, everything
Right.
went across that one MC. My rack's right below that one MC, and I'm like, yeah, no wonder I don't sleep at night.
Yeah. Then you wake up and you go do your work shift, and you're in a
Mhm.
boiler room, which isn't the quietest place.
Nope, not at all. With no headgear. And then they wonder why I'm going deaf today. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
A lot has gone on. And I'm only at my first duty station less than 6 months.
Yeah.
I can
Wow.
only imagine what's coming up.
I also noticed that your ship is on the list. It's on the asbestos ship list. Is one of the worst ones.
It is, as far as
And it
asbestos
says
is concerned. Yes, sir.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
it says the crew. Anybody who served on that ship is at a high risk for asbestos.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
We sure did love our asbestos back in those days, didn't
Yeah, we did. Yeah, we did. Yeah, we did.
What was the? I know this is like totally like out of left field, but what was our obsession with this asbestos? Was it the fire retardant of it, or what was it?
Yeah, it was
Um,
a fire retardant properties.
yeah, fire retardant, and also, well, down in the boiler room were all the steam pipes that kept the heat in.
Oh, its
Kept,
insulation properties as
yeah,
well.
insulation kept the heat in. Yeah,
And that,
absolutely.
and then let's how many ships have pipe insulation that's not damaged, right? And so it's been beat up. At that point, that ship is almost 40 years old, right? So any place where there's asbestos ripping up and exposed, the heat from the boiler room is carrying it into the air, and you can't see it, and everybody's breathing it in.
All your
'Cause it's-
evaporators on that boat were all asbestos wrapped. All
Oh,
the
wow.
evaporators that made the fresh water for the boilers,
Right.
they were all asbestos. All of them.
Yeah.
And all the dump valves, everything that went down into the bilge. Even your packing and some of your valves had asbestos in it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how long were you on Sardinia or at Sardinia on the boat?
18 and a half months I did.
Yeah.
18 and a half months of hell. And it was hell.
Man.
Now, when you ended up leaving that ship or that station, did you where did you go next, and did you get some relief?
Nope.
From
It only got
or is-
worse when I
I
came back
know-
state.
yeah,
I came back stateside
And
to
so-
Connecticut.
yeah. So
Yep.
did you think somebody called ahead, or do you think that it followed you in paperwork?
Like that little rain cloud.
Yeah.
It's following you.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's where you're going to be. Okay, let's rain on you. Yeah. It got worse when I got back stateside. I had finally caught a third-class hospital corpsman's attention that this guy is not malingering. He's in real pain. We need to take a look and see what's going on. Diagnosis was what they called condymalacea. Now, I'm sure you know what that is. No?
I've never heard of it.
I don't.
I'm
But
going to explain
For
it to you.
for the audience to say,
It's called runner's knee.
Mm.
For those who don't understand runner's knee, it's due to trauma when my knee hit the floor going down that ladder 18 and a half months ago when I got to Connecticut. The third-class hospital corpsman thought I was in a lot of pain, walking around with a limp that I still walk around with today, and said, we need to take a look at this. Still not checked for TBI. Still not checked for x-ray. Still don't have an MRI either. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. And I can tell you in my records, I should have been medevaced out. That's written in my records,
Mm.
but was never medevaced out to be
Well, yeah,
checked.
from what you're saying, it sounds like immediately, they put you on some bed rest, right? To me, what that means is hide him until the bruises heal.
Pretty much, but the bruise is never healed. And even after the surgery, okay, of a tendon lateral release, I still to this day have bilateral knee pain. You want to talk about not being able to walk it? There are
Well,
times I
I've
can't
seen
walk.
I've seen you walk.
There are times I have not been able to walk. There are times I limp. There are times I can't even get out of bed. But yet I'm still working a 40-hour work week, if not more, because I got to support a family.
Right.
I got a family to support.
It's like that old saying goes, life goes on and you just got to fucking go with it, right? You
That's
can't-
it. Yes, sir. Absolutely. Got to keep going, keep marching, keep pushing forward. So
For people that might not catch this, and I'm thinking through it as you're telling us, I'm like thinking, so you're in your 20s, you're in pain, you're all jacked up, long term, not the temporary injury, but the permanent injury stuff. And so every day you're hurting is a reminder of how you got screwed over and what went wrong. And I could easily see where that builds, over time, and it ruins your memory of this, of service, which everybody wants to remember as I served my country being a good thing, and I could see where, that could turn into a lot of resentment, and
there
gets
is.
heavy over time.
There's a lot of resentment with it. Okay. I had surgery, was put on, there's a wording for it. I can't remember off the top of my head. In a barracks for people who can't do the duties that they need to do. And the command went against the medical board and put me right back to work. Even
So it
after
sounds like
that.
you were on a limited duty status.
Correct.
Got
But
it.
there's another wording for it. But regardless, still put on 12 to 4 watch, still put on every working party, still doing whatever it is I have to do. And they went against medical authority, which is also in my records. And I'll get to my point in a minute about that in my records. So I decided one day that I had about enough of the bullshit. I'm already in a little over 3 years. I maybe got 9-10 months left. I have reached a breaking point. My breaking point told me nobody cares, nobody gives a shit, and nobody's going to care. I packed up my sea bag. I walked off the ship, and I didn't return for 2.5 years.
Mm.
I had reached a strain of not only physical but mental abuse that I'm just not going to take no more.
No.
Now, mind you, I have kept this down for 41 years. 25 in a marriage, second marriage at that. What I can tell you today is I have fought the fight. I continue to fight the fight. I now am due for hip replacement because of the accident. I will probably...
To the VA?
Yeah, through the VA.
Awesome, man.
It's going to get even better here real shortly. I'm probably going to have another knee surgery, if not replacement eventually. Retirement is 8 months away. I'll be 66 in 10 months. In 8 months. I will sit down.
I was
I will
I
sit
was
down
doing
at
those
that point.
number.
I will sit
I
down
was
at
doing
that
the
point.
numbers earlier, and I was like, Mitch does not look that age. When you told me what year you went in, I'm like, dude looks the same age as me, if not younger.
I'm born in 1959, August 29th. I'll be 66 in 10 months in June. What I can tell
I'm gonna
you
start
is
telling people the same thing.
I'm going to tell you the real battle that I fought. The real battle I fought was with the Veterans Administration. And what I want to tell people out there is, okay, no matter what, do not throw that towel in. If you have put a claim in, you fight that battle like you have never fought in your entire life. And I'll tell you why I tell you that. Am I angry? Absolutely. Am I have anxiety? Absolutely. Do I have hypervigilance? Absolutely. Am I agitated very easily? Absolutely. Okay. You can stop assessing me up there because I'm sure you're doing that. I can tell you, okay, you fight your battle because eventually you will come out on top. And I'll tell you what happened with me. I've been denied 4 times in my claim. And one of the times in my claim, my last name is Katz. The beginning of the letter had my name, my address, where I live, and it said, Dear Mr. Sabato. Now you understand
Not
why.
surprised.
Now you understand why I was so quiet, Nate.
Yeah. Well, and then also at one point or another, correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't you also have the VA telling you that you are not even eligible to
That is
be,
correct. That is correct. The
yeah,
VA
to
told me
apply for benefits?
I wasn't eligible for anything because the 2.5 years that I was AWOL, they told me was a statutory bar to any veteran
Yeah.
administrative benefits. It's a
And
38
so a lot,
CFR vet.
yeah,
You can look it
and
up.
there are a lot of vets that get out with bad paper or told that, and but when you look back, it's like the stuff that happened to him and injured him was not due to misconduct, and it happened before the misconduct. It happened while you were serving like you were supposed to be, but
Yep. And I had
how many years now has the VA been denying people, under that?
And I had a 3.6 grade point military average at a 4.0 until I walked away.
Yeah.
The VA said no. And even with the mitigating circumstances, they still said no. And I said, oh, yeah? Okay. You pissed off the wrong vet. You made the wrong veteran mad. So I want to tell people out there that no matter what, you fight the fight because I am 100% service connected.
Yeah.
I am 100% service connected. I get
So
everything.
for people who aren't familiar with the process, so when you got denied, did you have to go back and reassert your claim, or did you have to give them additional information, or did you
I
have
gave
to
them.
attack it from a different angle? How did you go about doing it?
I gave them information like you wouldn't believe. And when they sent me the paperwork, they sent me paperwork on expired forms. And they did it on purpose because not only did they do it once, they did it 3 times on 3 separate occasions. Are you that dumb? Are you that stupid?
Would you recommend that people that are in that situation? Well, I agree with you. Don't give up. But how would you recommend they go about that? Should they try to dig up and learn the information themselves, or should they go find a VSO? Should they find a one of these legal companies who take a big chunk to help do
No,
it for you.
stay away. I can tell you, stay away from the legal companies because they're going to want a piece of the action. That's first off. Second off, I had somebody who fought this battle with me in the VOB group. Okay. He's a Mustang graduate. I give him absolutely the highest props I could ever give anybody for what he has done and where he took this. He is not stupid.
Yeah.
And anybody who wants to reach out for him, I am sure without doubt he will help them. He takes absolute pride in helping anyone and everyone, and he didn't have to help me. He could have just been said, this is some dirtbag that just did something. I'm going to walk away and not bother with this. He vested himself day and night, week after week, month after month, for 18 months now. I just got notified. 18 months it took me to get 100% connected. And he's been to my house on several occasions, has met my family, my dog. I mean,
That's real trust if you let another man meet your dog, man.
He has taken me to the top. And there have been plenty of times where I wanted to throw that flag in, and I didn't. He wanted me to throw that flag in. He said, don't you dare. So, VSO, there's plenty of information out there on Google. Just look it up. If you Google it will tell you just about anything.
So I mean, I know you know this, Mitch, but for the other people, for the two docs and the people watching this today or later on, I know Mitch's VSO, and I didn't know how VSOs are supposed to work until I saw and met him. I always thought it was like a VSO just say, yeah, take this form, fill it out, I'll sign my name on it, I'll mail it in, and then they'll get you a letter in the mail. I just thought that was the way it was supposed to work, and then the contrast is you meet Mitch's VSO, and that guy cares the same as you, if not more, about your claim. It's like it's his life purpose,
I'm telling you, he's mailed some of those forms out and spent his money. And I said, how much do I owe you? And he said, don't worry about it.
Yeah. So people that are watching, when you're looking for a VSO, stay away from the easy extreme. You want somebody that cares about your problems as much, if not more, than you do.
I have spent hours with this man. Hours. Yeah. So it's now 100% connected, and it wasn't about the money. Wasn't about the money at all. And my VSO officer will be the first person to tell you it wasn't about the money, and it's still not about the money. It was about the health care.
Yeah.
That's all I care.
Well, and I would venture to say that where you're at today, that you've probably something you hadn't thought of, but it turns out too that it was also a process of validating for you, right? Because I remember you before, for the past year and a half, you were one way, and people would be like, oh, he's quiet. And I'm like, no, that's a man right there that's exercising patience and trying to keep his composure and his anger in, and trying to be a person that people can stand to be around. And then then we get the news that that you're 100%, and like this weight is lifted off of you. The stuff you're talking about now, I hadn't heard. I heard I heard one thing before tonight that I knew really about you, and here you are now telling us all this hard stuff, and that's evidence that it wasn't about the money also, because you're not coming on here dancing a jig, like elated all of a sudden. It's more of a weight. I can see the weight that's been removed from you.
I have found what they call grace. Not 100%, but I have found grace. And I have found peace like a river, big time. Because I can tell you, with everything that I've been diagnosed with, and I haven't even sent the TBI in yet, and I'm at 100%. Matter of fact, with everything that's gone on, the total percentage was 210%.
Yeah. So you've broken the 160 barrier, but I know it depends on how you add it up. So are you at the point now where they've given you the SMC, what is it, special something compensation?
Yeah, that's special multi-compensation, and that's for people who are unemployable. I'm still working.
Oh, okay. I always forget what
I'm pretty sure that's what it is.
What the other guy is always talking about.
Yep.
I don't want to drop his name in here, but
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. That's for people who are still working.
So people realize, don't stop at 100%, because there are other things above the 100% rating. They add on to 100%.
The reason for it is because if there's a service-connected injury that I pass away from, my wife, who's the most important thing in my life, because of all that she's marched through with me, because I'm sure there are days she has wanted to go ahead and kill me with everything that's gone on. There has been hell to pay in this house. Most important thing in my life is my wife, and if I die from a service-connected injury, she'll get 50% of it.
Yeah.
So that tells me peace of mind.
That's a thing.
She is able to survive.
I think too many people overlook that. They're so focused on hitting 100%, and then they quit. And they don't think about of the multitude of things that could be wrong with them that they wouldn't imagine would be the thing that suddenly worsens and kills them. And that's money that, like you said, can go to your spouse, or even if you're somebody who's divorced and you have a dependent child still, or you have a child who
I got grandkids and everything else that I want to make sure are going to be taken care of if I'm not around and when it happens.
Sounds like the level you got is the cat's meow.
I did.
I couldn't resist. I'm an idiot.
I did.
What can I say?
I did. It's okay. It's all good. Trust me when I tell you, it's all good. Because I can tell you, the CMP exams were not easy. They were rough. The last one I went through was hard. And I remember before leaving, he asked me, well, I guess you got retribution, huh? I says, what do you mean? And I hadn't even been connected yet. He said, well, you're still up and walking around and so on and so forth. I said, it's not about that. I said, the guy who pushed me down the ladder, he passed away from cancer. There's your retribution. And mind you, what I can tell you is my wife is an oncology nurse, and he didn't know.
I forgot about that.
That's right.
I forgot. Yeah.
Yep. My wife's an oncology nurse. So I got the hands up on that one without him knowing, because he didn't know that she was an oncology nurse. Time to speak and a time to sit down. I know when that is. So for those out there, I'm telling you, fight the fight, fight the battle. It's not going to be easy, but If it was that simple, everybody would be doing it.
I understand that one. It's taken me way too long.
And mind you,
Yeah.
I went from 0 to 100%. There was no in between.
So how many years from the time you, I don't know how to phrase it. I don't want to say got out, but from the time you were done with the Navy for the last time, how long was it between then to when you first tried to submit through the VA? Like
Well,
how many years?
that's a good question. It's very, very funny because during the time, supposedly there was a claim sent in 2015. I don't know anything about it. And what I
It
can
was
tell
in
you,
your C file?
I'm waiting for that. I already requested that. You have to file a FOIA for that.
Yeah.
I'm waiting. It's going to take time, but I'm going to get it. And I'm going to find out how and who and what and where and when. Because every rock now that I've overturned, I'm going to overturn this one too and find out what went on. 2015, there was a claim filed. I don't know anything about it. Okay. What I can tell you with that is, okay, that supposedly it was denied. I can see it on the VA.gov site now, but I have never had a VA.gov account till I came to Virginia.
How long ago?
Who opened the account? Because I've never had one. Where did they get my social from? Where did they get my period of service from? There's a lot of questions here with this that I'm going to get answers to and find out. Because when I filed my claim the first time with my VSO officer, okay, he said, "Do you have a claim?" The first time I came down to the VOB. And I said to him, "What the hell are you talking about?" I had no clue. And then when I got to thinking, yeah, you know something, now that I'm thinking about it, yeah, I guess maybe we need to do this. And that's 18 months ago.
Yeah.
18 months ago is roughly 2024, 16 months ago, March. This claim was filed in 2000. Yeah, this claim was filed in 2015.
Yeah.
So there's some Q&A going on here, and we're going to find out, just like Mr. Sabato, because they sent that claim letter saying I got out on a positive urinalysis. Okay, I could only wish that that's what it was. Yeah.
So that really complicated the process you went into, because you're coming in there, giving them all, finally coming to terms with your service and what happened in and what happened afterwards, and you go to file and they're looking at you as, no, you've already you screwed up in different ways than what that you have no idea about, because it's only in your C file and you can't get to it. And
yep,
so that makes it even harder. So then you have to go and explain why the information that they have is not you. So, and none of that happens quick. Yeah.
Yep. So, when everybody says you're fighting a war, yeah, that's a war you're fighting within yourself. And what I can tell you, okay, it was very, very close. It was very, very close to pulling a gun and pulling the trigger.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember. No, I won't share that for you. But I remember, yeah, that there were times where you weren't good, man.
Nope, not at all. Not at all. When it comes to talking about all of that, I run out of the building. There have been several meetings I ran out of that building. I just can't go there. I can't go there with any of that.
Yeah.
And I know there are people out there that are probably worse off than me. And all I can tell them is, don't give up. Don't give in. Find a way to fight that battle and find a way to fight that war, because the alternative is not good. And I'm now seeing a psychologist, and I've been seeing one for the last 2 years. I've been seeing one,
Yeah.
and the VA has now assigned me one, and they check in once a week with me, and I will be over in Fredericksburg. Matter of fact, my first mental health is October 21st, and I know it's going to take a while to get back to where I need to be, but I'm going to win. I'm going to win one way or another.
So, to illustrate for people, you know, when you're betrayed in your military service, especially by people that are higher than you, right? So it's one of the things that chased you away, you know, chased you off the boat. So when you said you packed your sea bag and got off, did you do that in the United States? Did you do that overseas? You know,
I was in Connecticut when I packed up, requested permission to leave the ship, saluted the chief petty officer on the quarterdeck, and off the boat I went. I caught the bus in the terminal in Connecticut, and I came home. And what I can tell you was, I was homeless for 6 months.
Yeah.
I know what that's like. Not knowing where the next food's coming from, not knowing what's going to go down, not knowing how things are going to be. I slept in the back of a 1986 Hyundai Sonata. And I can tell you that winter, it was cold. And the summer was hot. What I can also tell you is I finally went to work for somebody off the books. So that's how I stayed alive.
that's how you stayed away from getting pulled back in too, right?
That too.
Yeah.
And I know that there was an APB out on me for it. But the problem was, I'm not 6 feet. I've never been 6 feet in my entire life. You couldn't even stack You couldn't even stack two of me together, and I would make 6 feet.
They had your description down at 6 foot.
They had description of 6 feet, and they had the driver's license number completely wrong.
Apparently, nothing with government knows your identity, man.
I guess not. Apparently not. And I went to work for somebody in a gas station, driving a tow truck, becoming a mechanic, assuming a regular life, trying to get back to somewhat normalcy.
Yeah, leave all that behind you.
Here's the catch. The owner of the gas station was a cop.
Oh, man. Plain view.
Pretty much.
Hmm.
So when people say I have a set of balls, yes, I do. I do.
Yeah.
But it's survival.
Before, when you're new in the military, or sometimes even if you've done a career in the military, or you're a civilian and you hear about, people deserting or going AWOL and stuff, you have this preconceived notion in your head, of what kind of a person it is, right? Oh, it's just somebody who's a rebel all the time and, never should have been, in the military in the first place. And that's never been my experience. Actually, man, now that I think about it, the very first platoon I was in, one guy spent quite hundreds of hours in a fighting role with. He was one of those people that people just rode him all the time and made fun of him all the time. And, he was an easy target. And then he was supposed to get promoted on a specific schedule. And he used to keep that rank, that corporal rank insignia in his pocket, because in his own head, all the crap was going to stop eventually, and they would see him for who he is, and it never happened. And it just, and then when he he went home on leave, and he met somebody, and suddenly he's happy in his life, and he proposes, and he wants to go back to have a real quick wedding. And because he's been labeled, a shitbag, they deny his leave, you know. So he goes from being crapped on all the time and then finding somebody who values him. And then he comes back to his unit and I would expect that he thought everybody would see him differently, and then they just crap on him some more. There's a lot of time. There's no surprise that he was like, "Screw that, I'm going," and he went AWOL, and came back. We had another guy who went. He had been in the army, and you know, and then came into the Marine Corps, and people just wrote him all the time. When he went AWOL, he was only like maybe 2 kilometers from the unit, and he lived in a he lived in his shelter half in the river on base when they found him there. But it's just, and so it's what I think is awesome about what you've been telling us, and this isn't the traditional. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if there's nobody who's done a webcast yet who's talking about this kind of hard stuff. Nobody, we know there's lots of people who get court-martialed. We know lots of people over time have bad paper, have been kicked out of the military, but they never tell you who they are, right? We've probably all met some of these people, and they keep it to themselves in shame, and it's awesome that you're open enough and in a good place now where you can talk about it, because most of the time when we talk about somebody that was jacked up or messed up, they stay in and the story never goes on beyond that. And I want to see what happens when you push somebody over the edge.
It's not easy. I kept it down for a long time. I'm like I said, I'm seeing a psychologist for the last, I think it's 2.5 years, if I'm not mistaken. She has told me I've come a long way with, helping myself and trying to get past the issues. Sometimes it's 2 steps forward, 3 steps back, but, no pain, no gain, as they say. But
Yeah.
admitting is the first sign of getting help. Now it's just moving forward and getting that help so that you can try to lead a life of some kind of normalcy. You never get to the point of where you were at one point in time, but you can get close enough to it. Okay. I can't imagine going on the way I was and keep marching the same way I was, keeping this in, because I'm telling you, the night terrors are still around. Okay. From what's happened, there's been diagnosis of RLS. I mean,
What's RLS?
RLS is restless leg syndrome.
Oh, yeah.
There's a reason for that. There's sleep issues. I'm on different
There's a couple things you told us about before we went live that the audience doesn't know also. So when he's talking about dreams and nightmares, it's not just the bullying and the getting beat up on stuff. There's other things in there too, so people understand.
I still see to this day, I still see the XO getting his head cut off with that mooring line. Yeah. I was on a fantail boat when that mooring line came 3 feet from me, almost took me out.
Let me just jump in here with something that we've said, or I've said to many of our guests whenever I present on this topic. Mitch, you're reacting completely normally to an unbelievably abnormal set of circumstances. You're not crazy. You're not weak. You're just in pain. And who the hell wouldn't be? I'm glad you're here, because hopefully you'll get some sense of relief by telling us your saga. Notice I didn't say story. This stopped being a story about 45 minutes has turned into a saga. And perhaps a book in the Bible or the Talmud or something like that. But you're also, for others who hear your story, disclosure breeds disclosure. You're going to give courage for somebody else to tell their story. And
I'm
that's how
hoping.
this webcast helps people, but also I tend to believe how this webcast saves lives. And we're so glad you're here tonight, man. Seriously.
Yep. You know, and you know, it's been kept down for so long that who knows what tomorrow brings. You don't know. You don't know what tomorrow brings. Okay? And for those of us out there who have no faith, better find some. Because without faith, there's no tomorrow. And as long as the man upstairs puts air in your lungs to breathe, that's another good day. That's another day that you're alive. That's another day to have peace. That's another day to have faith. That's another day to say, I'm still here and I'm still working on myself now.
So there we go. That's a good question right there, man. So all this stuff that's happened to you and you've been carrying all this weight and you're seeing a psychologist. What was it that gave you either the strength or the desperation, or was it an ultimatum from your wife? What was it that made you pick up that? And we know how hard that is to pick up that phone for the first time. But what was it that started you on that path to pick up the phone and finally ask for help?
I'm going to tell you. I had a military officer who was a customer of mine. I had no idea he was even a military officer. Did time out in the desert. I believe he's OIF officer in the Marine Corps. I'm not going to mention the name. Okay. He came in one day and he looked at me and he said, "You need help." I laughed at him. He walked away. I fixed his vehicle and he went on about his way. I want to think roughly about 5 or 6 weeks later, him and his wife came in and he came over to me and he said, "Did you get help yet?"
Oh, man,
I laughed.
check.
I laughed again. Only I laughed harder. The awakening call was when he grabbed me by the back of my shirt and pinned me against the wall. And he said, "Here, take this phone number and give this person a call." I knew right there and then he was serious. So I picked the phone up and I called. And I've been with her ever since. Now, what I can tell you is she's very good. She is extremely good. She is an Army vet. I'm pretty sure she's Army. She was, I can't remember which one, Afghan, whether it was the first one or which one it was, but she has seen battle. She knew right away what was going on with me. And there was no forewarn from him either, because I asked her, "Did you speak to anybody?" She said no. And I believe her. I believe she's told me the truth. Okay? Because right away, radar goes up because of deception from other people in life. Promise and no glory. And I can tell you, I've been with a Warrior Project. I've been with 1, 2, 3 other groups. Everybody said, yeah, we can help you. I said, okay. When it was time to help, they all bailed out. So you want to talk about faith, lack of, there it is. When he came in, he gave me the phone number. I called and I talked to her, and I've been with her ever since. The VA is now taking care of the mental health issue with me on top of it. And I will get better. It's going to take some time, but I will get better. And for those of you who think that you can't, yes, you can. Favorite saying for the CBs, can do. There is no I can't in my book. And this was long before I went into the military. There was never I can't in my book. My back has been against the wall for probably close to 66 years in just about everything. When somebody told me I couldn't do it, watch. I will. I'll overcome.
Right, man, there's another good lesson right there. So I am horrible at this, but the two docs are good at this. They're good at recognizing when somebody needs help, and they're not passive about it. And I think too many of us, we have a concern and we express our concern to somebody, but we won't assert, like that Marine officer did to you. We'll be like, hey man, I'm here. If you ever need anything, give me a call. All right. Oh yeah, okay. And they mean it when they say it. But and I've been telling people, sometimes that the person in the hole is in so deep that they can't reach up and get it themselves. Um, let's say that he had never come into your workplace and looked at you and recognized, because more than likely, if he recognized it in you and he didn't know you, it's because he'd been at that level at that point sometime too. He probably recognized his own face in your face, right? Had he not come in there, do you think you would have ever reached out for help on your own, or was it him pushing you harder about it is what made you finally
Nate,
do it?
what I can tell you is when he grabbed me, which could have been the wrong thing to do because of
I wouldn't grab you, man.
because of I mean, at that time I was like a light switch. Just as quick as you turn it on, I could turn it off. Okay, but if it got turned on, stand by, because you're getting a full tilt.
Yeah.
I can tell you, had he not said something, grabbed me, recognized it, I wouldn't have gotten help. And more than likely, one of two things. I would continue down the path of the wrong way, or I'd be dead.
Yeah. I mean, like, had you kept going down the path the wrong way, getting more and more angry, more resentment, then another shoe drops, right? Maybe it's your kids can't stand you anymore. Maybe your wife can't stand you anymore. Or you can't stand yourself anymore. And by somebody asserting himself, how that extra act made such a difference. What are you going to say, Doc Berry?
Well, I was just thinking of all the 6 or 7, however many years you were on active duty. You must have seen one really shitty so-called leader after another. Thank God one finally came along, even though he took his damn sweet time. A guy who knew what the hell he was doing and was absolutely leading. Right?
I owe him big time. I owe him big time. My repayment to him, when there's a problem with his car, come see me. I'll take care of it. And I tell my boss, don't bother charging him. I'll handle it. That's the repayment for helping me get to where I'm at now. He, and I've had some in-depth conversations with him. He knows quite a bit. Probably everything that I'm saying here tonight, he knows. His wife is a gem. My mother-in-law lives with us. I thought at one point in time we were losing her. She called the priest for the last will and rites. She's still here today. Thank God. I found out further on that she was a registered nurse. I found out further on she's retired, but she knows quite a bit about how this works because her husband was pretty bad too, and their marriage was on the brink of breaking up. And she had also told me, if you don't go, you're going to end up like that too. And I've told you on this cast, my wife is the most important thing to me. So I owe him a lot.
I'm thinking about this now. The question Doc Barry asked, so maybe we can clear it up a little bit. So you went in 1978. You were about 3 years before you stepped off the ship and didn't come back, right? And then, but we mentioned in the beginning that you were on paper, you were in the Navy until 1985, right?
Correct.
And so, yeah, so because Doc was asking a question, and there's a lot of things that Doc is still learning across the services, just as I am. About so when he asked a question about your time in, so your time on paper shows till 1985, but to be clear, it's not considered good time all the way up till 1985, correct?
That's correct. That is correct. Yeah. Yep. But they have to meet the obligation of the 4 years. That's how that works. Yeah. That's why it comes out to 1985, because they have to meet the obligation for 4-year enlistment. I'm gone 2.5 years. So when you do the math, it's 1985 because of the amount of time that I was away. That subtracts from it. And I did 72 days in the brig, which was no picnic either in New London, Connecticut.
So did you turn yourself in?
Yes, I did. Absolutely.
Oh, wow.
I had one of my best friends knew, and he came to me and he said, you're going to have to face this sooner or later. Packed up my stuff and we drove me up to New London, Connecticut, and I turned myself in and immediately was handcuffed and shackled with leg irons and all.
I don't know if I had gone through what you went through and been wrong the way you were and felt the way you were, I don't think I could walk back in under my own power to the organization that I would have perceived as having screwed me over and ruined everything. I don't know. That's some strength, man, to do that, to turn yourself in.
Went back up, turned myself in, was immediately taken to the brig. And then there was a special court martial. It wasn't for desertion either. It was for being AWOL.
Yeah, that's a lot of people don't realize that. That choice is up to them. Yeah.
How dumb was that? Well, I had a military lawyer, and the lawyer said, "Keep your mouth shut. This will be over in 10 minutes." Well, I'll be darned if she wasn't right. 10 minutes, it was over on a special court martial. Out the door I went and over to New London, Connecticut on the other side where EB is at. And I did 72 days in the brig there. And that was no picnic either because I had a master chief in that command who decided, we're going to mess with him. Yeah. Because he thought he was, one of those people that decided we're going to mess with somebody. And maybe he read the jacket, maybe he didn't. I don't know and don't care. But what I did tell him was when I didn't pop tall in the cell, that if he didn't get away from me, that I was going to pull his throat out and feed it back to him if I ever get out from behind these bars.
there's always an odd mix of people in the brig, and people want to think that it's just like lowered, E1s to E3 or E4s, and people don't realize that there's O6s, Navy captains, or Marine or Army colonels in the brig alongside privates.
Yeah.
Not only that,
And
but
yeah,
I got nothing to lose.
yeah.
I got nothing to lose. There's no income. I'm already busted to E1.
Right.
72 days is going to come, and 72 days is going to go, and then I'm going to walk out and I'm going to say, see you later. But this was an
Yeah.
everyday occurrence. This was an everyday occurrence with this guy because I wouldn't pop tall for him. I'm not popping tall for you, pal. Not going to happen.
So that chief was they're not called correction officers in the Navy. I forgot what we call them, but
No,
is
they
that
call
what
him
he
Shore
was?
Patrol.
Oh, it's Shore Patrol Chief. Okay.
Shore Patrol. It was a master chief on the command at that site, at the brig. It was a master chief of the command who decided he wanted to play games. The chief in the brig, when he heard me say that, told the master chief, you may want to leave him alone
Hmm.
because there's going to come a time where he's going to be assigned a working party, and if he sees you on base, you know what's going to happen.
Don't
So,
keep pushing a cornered animal, huh?
yep, not a good idea.
Yeah.
You should think by now.
It's amazing that they didn't charge you with AWOL, and it was only 72 days. I say only 72 days, but only 72 compared to what they could have done, And the only thing that I can think of, I'm thinking about like when I was an adjutant and I did a special court martial, and the CO I had at that time was a good guy, and I would imagine they're probably like, look, he turned himself in. Let's not smash him so he lawyers up, and then this becomes a long drawn out thing that's a waste of time and money. He's turning himself in. He wants to answer for it. The expectation is you're going to get punished for it, right? So the E1, you probably knew that was going to happen, right? But wow, 72 days, man. I think the special court martial I did, I gave that Marine 90 days, and we didn't kick him out.
It was 72
Yeah.
days. It was deduction to E1, and I wasn't charged with desertion because I could have been charged with desertion.
Right. Would it carried a higher sentence? Right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. Anything above 180 days would be a higher sentence as far as that's concerned. I think they could have hit me with desertion. And if I'm not mistaken, it was a year.
30 days.
I think it's a
They could have
year.
hit you with. Oh, time in brig, yeah.
Yeah, a year and time in the brig, along with desertion. If they had charged me with desertion, all they charged me
Man.
with was UA. That's
Hey,
all they
and,
charged me with. Article 86.
At least you had the good sense to do it from the United States and not while you were forward deployed.
I'd still be rolling around Europe trying to figure out how to get back.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then, well, yeah, that would have been. I don't know if they would fall under missing movement, but you could end up on bread and water, all kinds of crazy stuff.
Yeah, I would think there's all kinds of crazy things that could happen, but and I thank the man upstairs. That's all I can do. I
So
pray
what-
with that man every day upstairs.
So then, when you got discharged, do you have a bad conduct discharge?
I
Or
do.
other-
BCD, which is being upgraded to either general under honorable or
I was
honorable
gonna say so.
conditions because the VA has already said I served honorably.
Right. I was gonna say, so in the process of you getting your disability claim and everything rolling, are you as well? And you've already answered it. Upgrading your discharge, and yeah, you are. So.
I didn't have to upgrade it. Didn't make a difference on that one.
Oh,
This is
well.
this is the point of all of this. Okay. Although I did wrong, came back and corrected it, I still got 100% connected
Mhm.
and didn't have to change the discharge. I do have the DD 149 in though to change it. and I want to go in front of them face to face.
Yeah.
I want them to see me, and I want them to know the story on what went down, not just what I filed in the DD 149. So that will that'll more than likely happen in Washington, I think.
Okay.
That's something I hadn't even thought about, So you have a BCD, and then that I'm sure also contributed to the VA, initially telling you no on top of all the
Right.
crap that they had wrong, right?
Correct.
And then because you chose to fight for what was right, because it happened when you at the time that you were serving honorably, the VA finally relents and said, yes, this happened while you were serving honorably.
That is
And now
correct.
that acknowledgement, you're able to go use to go back and fix the characterization of your service on your discharge.
That is
That's-
correct. That's exactly what I've done. And I have filed that. And I'll tell you,
Oh.
the DOD is not too much smarter. I'll tell you why. Because I filed the 149. They received it. They acknowledged it in my email. They signed for it because I've had the VA sign for everything also. This way I know they got it. The DOD, okay, on two screw ups right now. First screw up is that they closed the 149 because they told me I didn't submit my personnel file. Now, nowhere's on the website and nowhere's on the DD 149 does it state that I have to do that. So why do I have to give you the 149? They sent me back in the email. Hang on. They sent me back in the email saying, we're supposed to get your records. So why did you close the DD 149? I have the string of emails still. Okay.
Yeah.
Still can't get an answer, but they closed it. So I filed it again and I sent all the information in again, along with my personnel file. Here. I didn't send it in to them the first time because, first of all, I have no idea who's looking at it. That's my first thought. For all I know, it could be Bozo the Clown out there looking for it. I don't know. You don't state I have to send it.
But you draw out another point that a lot of the average person wouldn't know, right? So it might sound to them like, yeah, that kind of sounds reasonable. But what they don't realize is, so the DD 149 is so you're submitting to the Board of Correction and Naval Records to go back and fix something that was administratively wrong.
Correct.
And then they're telling you you didn't submit your records. But what somebody who hasn't been in the military won't understand is the Navy is supposed to have archived your records.
Correct.
They are supposed to have access to them, and they're blaming you for not giving them to them.
Correct. I'll give you one step further, though, with it when the DOD. So when you go into your account, for most people, they just go in and they look around, seeing the claim, and they look at this and that. They have me listed as a combat vet.
It keeps getting better in the worst ways, man.
I kid you not. I kid you not. They have me listed as a combat vet. Yep.
And when you put all that on top of the stat that I saw that came out not too long, there's a claims officer in Pennsylvania who got investigated because he was only spending an average of 3 minutes per claim. So they said he was approving too many claims, and and then when they went and they accounted for it all, they're like, it amounts to like $1.2 million in overpayments in 3 years. So I'm like, that's pretty damn good. That's actually probably less expensive than had he actually spent the time. It would have cost the government more had he spent the time, the
Correct.
average time. And here's the crazy thing. The average amount of time spent on a VA claim, reading all the stuff that's happened, all your medical junk, 21 minutes. It's in the IG report that the average for all claims adjusters, they spend an average of 21 minutes on a claim.
Yep.
Is this the
Yeah.
one that like approved like 80,000 claims or something like
Yeah,
that?
yeah, that guy.
Yeah, it's easy
I,
to
I,
do
I
that.
kind of look at him as a hero. That's an efficiency master right
Yeah.
there, man.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. I mean,
Wow.
think how many he processed. His margin of error was really small. Those people, and they didn't even calculate the amount of time he saved because all those people didn't have to appeal for 18 months like Mitch.
Right.
You know? Yeah.
Yep. And how many people walked
Oh,
away?
I
That's
did.
why. That's why I say don't
I
walk
tried to
away.
submit twice and I gave up. You know?
Nope.
Man.
Man of principle. I corrected
Yeah.
my wrong. Now it's your turn to correct your wrong.
Right.
Man. I lost my train of thought. That was just so ridiculous. I'm asking for your records. It threw me off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. They asked for the records, and they said, "Oh, we're supposed to get them from the VA. So why are you asking me for them?"
Okay.
Yep.
And
So
and I know
go
at the
ahead.
beginning, Mitch, you said like all of this wasn't about money. It wasn't about um, financial gain or any other beneficial gain besides just at the nitty gritty of it, just correcting each other's wrongs, right?
Correct.
But
It's
the good
about
thing,
correcting.
but the good thing is with you getting your upgrade of your discharge as well too. What a lot of people don't realize is um, so to lose all of your VA benefits, from my understanding, it has to be through a court martial, and you have to be like dishonorably discharged to lose everything. Now, as your discharges, whether it's under honorable, other than honorable conditions, bad conduct, you lose certain things. So you'll actually gain some other benefits from upgrading your discharge as well too.
Correct.
Yeah,
Correct. There will be other things that I'll gain.
like your
Um,
education.
education. Well, I'll gain education now without the upgrade. If I
Oh,
want to go
okay,
back to
okay,
school, they'll pay for it.
okay.
Um, I'm looking to retire, so unless I decide to go back to school for something else, I don't know
Keep
about
yourself
that
busy.
one. But
Hey,
I mean,
use
you
your
never know.
use your
You never know.
chapter 31, your VRNE, and
Yeah.
just go. I like we used to say back in the old day, go get a degree in basket weaving. Get paid.
The good thing about all this, though, is that my wife gets Champ VA. Okay.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, she does.
Wow.
As soon as you said
She
my wife,
gets,
that champ VA kicked in. Yep.
yep, she gets Champ VA. And um, she's sick. She's sick.
Yeah.
So with all of that being said, a matter of fact, I just filled the papers out tonight. Um, like I had said, it wasn't about the money. It was about the health insurance.
Yeah.
That's all this was about. Just give me the health insurance. I'll walk away and you'll never hear from me again.
Yeah.
You'll never know who I was. But what's right is right. What's wrong is wrong. You dragged me through the mud. You pissed me off. Now I'm going to fight back. So
I think I only know enough to be dangerous and probably say a lot of the wrong things about Champ VA. Can either one of you explain for the audience what most people have probably heard of TRICARE and understand how that's for active duty and retirees. What is Champ VA? Where does it come from, and what kind of things does it do? At a very general level.
Champ VA will cover. Champ VA is a step up from Medicare, basically. There's formularies that she'll be covered for. I would have to take out a dental policy if I decided to have her do dental. I can't remember what else is involved there, but you have to fill out. There's a 1010 form and a 795 something form, or 795.9 or something. If you already have Medicare, she has a secondary, also a supplement, and then she has Part D, which all has to be filed in there with that, with Champ VA, because if they find out about it, and you don't tell them, you'll lose Champ VA. You won't get it. So it's better to be on the up and up with it. But they cover medical. There's a certain portions. I think it's $50 deductible and something else. I can't remember the numbers, but it's a step up from Medicare for those of us who are on that Medicare line.
Right. And then it also, besides, I know, because it's weird, I get it. I've been like I said, I was a corpsman for 22 years, so I've been in the healthcare profession long enough. I don't still get it, but like it'll even cover your eye exams, which for whatever reason are unconsidered a medical thing. And it covers prescription medications, it covers dental, and as well, if Mitch passes away before his wife, she'll keep that healthcare
Correct.
insurance, which is the big one.
Correct.
Right.
Correct.
Yeah. So there's a few other things that I'm not. It's been a while since I've had to look into that stuff to educate anyone on it, but those are like the big ones when we talk about more so survivors benefits to dependents, to spouses or dependent.
There is a
children.
catch. There is a catch to it. You have to be 100% connected. I think
Correct.
you have to be
Okay. But
100%
yeah.
connected in order to have the Champ
Man,
VA.
so many Easter eggs in this, man. It's like in the pursuit of just taking care of your, how you were wronged and how it affected your mental health. There's all these things that are coming out of it that you now get that are good for you and your wife, to help you.
Yeah.
And I think of the number of, I know personally, a Vietnam vet who was in MACV-SOG, and he has never once gone to the VA. And when I brought it up one time, his wife was like, it made me think about all the benefits that he earned and rightly deserved and didn't get because he doesn't want to file, and he's angry at the DoD VA establishment. But I didn't even think about how many other veterans are doing that same thing, whether it's out of spite or like me. I don't need it. I'm making enough money, but you don't realize until you get into it, start doing like you do, like you're doing. There's all these other things that can help you that you should be getting and are helpful. And yeah.
Well, you got to think of the long game too. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Like it's very easy, I think, like you said, Nate, to be in that moment and just be spiteful or just be like, dude, I make 6 figures a year. I have another health insurance through this company, you know. But one thing that I'm learning through my mother, who just put in her Social Security claim because she turned 70. She turned 70 this year. Is how many of those other insurances drop off, and you're forced to go in your later years, like into Medicaid or something like that, right? Where
Yeah.
Champ VA or TRICARE really covers a lot more financial wise, so it's not such a financial burden on the individual. And so I think when we're thinking of the long game, right, of our life, right, like, hey, be pissed off at what you went through, or be happy that you make so much money, that, but think of it like when you're in your 70s and your 80s, right, and it comes time to think of our end of life journey, right? And
I'm gonna
yeah.
tell you something about all of that. Okay, don't ever think for 1 minute that you can't fall from the grace of God. And what I mean by that is, you got the ultimate insurance policy, you've got the ultimate top dollar, you're making big bucks. Don't ever think you can't fall off that ladder to unemployment,
Yeah,
because you'll find out how quick your ass hits the ground quick,
Mhm.
and you don't get up.
You probably don't know this, Mitch, but that's exactly what happened to me. I was making enough money, didn't care, didn't file. I'm all right. And then suddenly I piss somebody off when I said the wrong thing and they use every angle they can and I get kicked out of government and
Yep.
suddenly I'm at 25% of my income. And then in that moment, looking back and going, oh, had I filed my VA claim and been persistent, I would be able to survive this with no problem. And then it wasn't until this happened that somebody pointed out to me, like, yeah, and all those kids that you paid to go to college,
Yeah.
the VA would have paid it.
Yep.
But
Yep.
I was so focused on me and what I didn't want to do. It's
You gotta try to put aside the issues of being mad, being pissed off, being agitated, all the things that get in the way, and you lose perception of what you actually are trying to go after or what you actually need. Okay, because this wasn't about, like I said, this was not about money. This was about, I righted the wrong, did what I had to do. Now it's your turn to right the wrong. I just want the health insurance. That's
Yeah.
it. That's all this was about.
And I
And
know,
then when you drag me through the mud, I'm sorry. Now we're going to
yeah.
go after everything.
And I know it sounds like a long journey, but I think, that's a good thing, right? Is to have a long journey in life. Um, but
Yeah.
I feel that your healing started the day that you said, fuck it, my buddy's right. I'm going to eventually have to pay for this. Let me go and turn myself in. And inadvertently, that's where your healing started. Because like Nate said earlier, to have started your Navy career, and I wouldn't even say on a bad note, I would say on a note of betrayal, right? You were betrayed by your shipmates from the very beginning. And it sounded like throughout your career, you kept facing these other situations that confirmed this betrayal, right? What the fuck is this organization? I thought this was supposed to be a brotherhood. We're shipmates, look out for each other, and then you walk away from it. And to finally, like you said, wake up one day, and whether someone kind of slapped you in the face or you just kind of came to the realization, whatever it was, you getting up and saying, I'm gonna turn myself in, was one of the most courageous, bravest parts in the journey that started on this healing process. And I personally believe that that foundation that you laid that day is what has given you this warrior strength to keep going through every little time where you could have said, see, another reason that no one cares. They don't even have my height correctly. They don't, you know what I'm saying?
Don't have your
all,
name right.
all of these other things that so many of us can use to confirm our bias of why this is a negative thing. And you said, nope, nope, I'm gonna keep pushing through this journey. I'm gonna keep going through, man. And that is a remarkable story and journey. And I am so thankful that you shared all of that with us. Because we've been very fortunate to interview and have a lot of guests over the last 3 years. But I will tell you this, as although a lot of our guests have a lot of similarities, right? We went through a lot of heartaches and pains. What you've shared with us tonight is unlike we've ever heard in over 3 years that we've done this. Am I correct on that, gentlemen? Right?
Absolutely.
And if there's anything that like Doc Barry has shared earlier, yes, I do believe this podcast has saved lives or has helped people go seek the help that they need. But I think this podcast is going to allow the Nates in the world
Do as I
to
say, not as I did.
right to be like, you know what? Damn, man, if Mitch has fought this for 15 plus years and has gotten the outcome that he rightfully deserves, then I can too. And that's a powerful statement and journey and story. And thank you for sharing that, man. That's amazing.
Amen. Hey, okay, I'm going to riff off that one. Thanks, Luis. You stole my thunder, you prick. Hey, Nate, you want some inspiration? You want some inspiration to get off your ass and get squared away and get this fucking kidney stone passed? We have just heard chapter and verse from Mitchell. Inspiration on many, innumerable levels. Nate, get off your ass and go get it. Mitch, stay on top of
Yeah.
him. Chase him around the house with a lawnmower if you have to.
Nate, you know who to go see.
Motivate him. Huh?
Actually, I am working with him.
I know
as,
you are. I know you
yeah,
are.
but I'm really excited. I remember where I was. We were at the Wednesday Veterans Coffee, the VOB. We have a VOB meeting on Fridays, but a bunch of us get together at the cafe at the VA on Wednesdays,
Mhm.
and we were all sitting there talking, and he stopped, not Mitch, but his VSO stopped us all and told us what had happened. And I remember in that moment, I was just like, yes, because I'm like, in my head right away, I could see this weight coming off of Mitch, and now you get to be on this healing journey where you're not dragging all that shit behind you anymore. I mean, yeah, you're still going to have some difficulties with minor things, but the hardest thing was saying out loud, you talking about your service, which, I mean, I don't know if if I had lived your life, I don't know if that I could have done that. And then to take that and put it in the open, and then use that, and then go after the VA and say, this is why you're wrong. This is what's supposed to happen. And then on top of it, they keep screwing up, right? I mean, it's like, you've done the hardest parts, man. It's like, I'm looking forward to, I know you've got your dog now too. And I'm like, it's going to be neat to see the
working
next
on
time
that
you come
next.
in on a Friday meeting. And I know I'm going to see you differently the next time I see you in person, man.
Yep. We're working on the dog next. That's the next step with this whole thing, because I've been told that I'm going to need it. And there's no question. And anybody out there who says dogs don't save lives, you are wrong. Dead wrong. They do save lives because they love you unconditionally. I'm telling you. They do save lives.
Four-legged therapist.
It is what it is. I come through that door and he's sitting right there waiting for me to come through. I'm like, okay, time to go for a walk. Time to go and make that run. So they do save lives. They do alter your train of thought. They do alter your movements in a lot of good ways. I can be the first one to tell you. So anybody who tells you that they're dead wrong.
So is there anything that you maybe wanted to talk about or cover that we didn't get into or didn't touch? Or
No, I don't think so, Nate. I mean, it is what it is. All I can tell you is, for those who are going to watch this or see it or view it whenever, wherever, and however, don't toss that flag in, man.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, don't toss it in. It'll be the biggest mistake you've made, because sooner or later, something's going to change. I'm telling you. And I do believe, okay, both myself and my VSO officer swore up and down that for the entire time that this claim was going on, nobody read it. They took it, put it in a pile, and just left it there until one day I got an email. They said, your first C&P exam is on such and such a date. That is the beginning of the journey for you to get your rating. I'm telling you.
Yeah. And so, on top of all the strength and bravery, doing what you've been doing and facing and stuff, and then you come out and do it in this forum where now the whole world can know about it. How do you feel 2 hours later? Did you come out of this at the end of 2 hours, feeling better about it? Or was it as scary as you might have thought? Or, what do you think of, your perception of what it would be versus how it turned out? 'Cause I also know, we know that you've watched a few times in the audience, and because, yeah, but But was it
Um,
easier, harder than you thought it was going to be? How was the experience for you?
I think that I don't think it was a matter of whether it was easier or harder. It was a matter of that I needed to lift a burden off of me that I've been walking around with for a long time. And it doesn't matter who hears it. It doesn't matter who believes it. It doesn't matter who watches it. I hope that somebody will gain, or a group of people, or a bunch of people, or whoever. Doesn't matter where it's at. It could be here. It could be in Europe. It could be in Asia. It doesn't matter. Okay. Whoever views it, that they get something out of it. Okay. Something positive out of it, so that they can help themselves. Okay, at some point in time. It might not be right now. It might be 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14 months from now. It might be 2 years from now. You don't know. Like I said in the beginning, you don't ever know what's going to happen tomorrow. There are no guarantees in anything. Okay? So if somebody gets something out of this, if it's just one person, it's made my day that much brighter, that somebody else will be able to get something, possibly. May not be a whole lot. It may be more than what I got. It really doesn't matter. The burden of getting this off of my backside, it felt like a lead weight that was just dragging me down.
Man, we couldn't have paid you to say it any better, dude.
Believe me, they didn't. Believe me, they didn't pay me, audience.
Yeah.
Well, with that, gentlemen, we're at our 2-hour mark and time to wrap it up. Mitch, thank you once again for coming on.
Yeah.
You guys have any other last minute things before we sign off?
I just appreciate your honesty and your willingness, man, to talk about you. I thought we would talk about things in general terms, and I just impressive that you are willing and able to speak the truth explicitly, and like you said yourself, I think that's going to help at least one person.
Yeah.
I'm hoping at least one, if not more.
Yeah.
Well,
And yeah,
one thing
if you got something,
I'll
put it
add
in the
here
comments.
is, we, speaking for my two brothers here, Mitch, we hope you will come back soon.
I will.
Absolutely.
I will do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
All right, everyone. Well, with that, if you have made it through all of our video, please give us a like, subscribe, share the video. Hopefully everyone gets a little something out of Mitch's story. If anything, be resilient, fight for what you know that is right and what you rightfully deserve. I think Mitch went ahead and signed off. I think one powerful thing that Nate expressed earlier in the video was knowing Mitch for as long as he has, he's been able to see Mitch kind of grow and develop into this happier, better self, right? And I think that's one powerful message we can take back from this is during those battles, they suck. No one wants to be in them. No one wants to fight them, but keep fighting them. On the other end, there can be a lot of healing by winning these fights and these battles. So, Mitch, once again, thank you. What's up, Doc Bear?
One more thing, Mitch, when we go from being live to back in the studio, don't close out yet. Don't log out yet. We'll tell you why.
Okay.
Let's
No worries.
But once again, everyone, thank you all so much for joining us this evening. Hope everyone has a good rest of your evening. Have a good night.
Yeah, have a good one.